Hello there, my name's Peter Molyneux, this is Jack Attridge, and we're the designers on Project GODUS, which is being kickstarted at this very moment in time. This is one of 5 updates that we're doing. We're going to cover inspiration from other games, what features we've decided upon, we're going to cover single player and multiplayer, and we're going to discover all the advanced features by day 5. And we're going to start off on day 1 is by looking at some of the old games that I've done before. We're going to go back in time 20 years, look at Populous, Dungeon Keeper and Black and White. And we're going to steal the best bits and throw away the worst bits. It's going to be a bit emotional for me because it's like going back in time and remembering all those things. Hopefully, by the end of these videos, you'll have an exact idea of what is going through our mind in Project GODUS. So, first, Jack, let's have a look at Populous. We've played some multiplayer games, haven't we?
Lots of multiplayer, yeah.
You hated it at the start, didn't you?
I just didn't know what was going on, and you were much better than me.
Well, you're never going to beat me. I'm like the creator of it. I mean, I always had this rule, when you're making multiplayer games, keep on adding rules until you win, and that's, And
I also didn't like that everything's based on energy, everything.
Yeah.
So if you end up smashing me, I've just got no way of coming back out of it.
Well, if you're gonna beat someone, you're gonna beat them into a pulp. That's why
I don't want to sit around and watch you rip me
That's
and
true.
you.
Balance is one thing. Let's have a look at the fundamentals of Populous. So, what was Populous? Populous was the first God game, and the thing I loved about it was this slight feeling of a world which you were a living world, which kind of evolved in front of you, which you could influence. And let's have a look at that now. How do we get into this? Oh no. Right, here we are in the lovely world of Populous. Firstly and foremostly, good grief, it's dated badly, hasn't it? Look at that. It's, it's a horrible isometric trial. At their time, this was pretty astounding graphics.
Is that a person?
That is a little person, yes. 2 frames of animation. 2 dots for his eyes and 1 dot for his mouth. Let's look at the principle of this, because although this is horribly flawed, I still love this bit, the raising and lowering of land. Raising and lowering the land kind of makes you feel powerful. And you know what, Jack? It's all about power. For me, the game GODUS is all about power. It's all about doing things which influence the land and the feeling of power that you have as God. And I still love this idea of raising and lowering the land. It's quite a relaxing thing to do, isn't it? It's something that you quite enjoy doing, of making something flat and clear. But behind all of that, there's strategy going on. Because across the other side of the landscape, of course, there is the evil player. In when we were playing multiplayer, that was you, who's also spreading out. So the rules are simple. Raise and lower the land, you make flat land, your people spread out onto the flat land. The more people that spread out, the more mana, we used to call it mana, you get. And the more of this mana you've got, the more God powers that you can use. So we're definitely going to keep raising and lowering. Anything else from here that you like?
I love the kind of OCD feeling of cleaning up when you're raising and lowering.
Yes.
But as a contrast to that, where it's kind of a dated game now, it's the fact that the raising and lowering the land's very kind of, it feels very mechanical, like it doesn't hide its seams.
Yes.
I want to be able to incrementally change the land. I want to really feel in control of it.
And we want this land to be more than just land. We want this land to have streams and rivers and life and vegetation and rocks and rubble, all of which you can interact with. So, this is our first design decision. We're going to have sculpting the land. And what sculpting means, it means adjusting the land, the ability to make little hills, and those little hills to become mountains, and those mountains to become huge mountains. Also, the ability to lower the land, sculpt it down, the ability to lower mountains. The rule is, when there's a flat piece of land, the little people will settle. Also, we're going to have cleaning up, as you say. Mm-hmm. Tapping with the mouse or tapping with your finger on mobile, that starts that clearing process, and it also enables something else. So that's what we're going to take, and we're also going to take God powers as well. Should we move on to another game?
Well, my other thing,
okay,
what I want is that you got these little people around a landscape.
Yes.
And he's like, that guy is supposed to be like 30 guys.
You're right.
I mean, I want to see armies.
No, it was rubbish, wasn't it?
I want to see a civilization.
Yes.
They pop out the houses.
We can, and again, this is something which we're prototyping at the moment. Fabs out there is prototyping it. We're hoping to have that prototype out as soon as possible. We want a landscape, A, that's beautiful and unique, B, that you can sculpt, and C, that has got a feeling of population.
I want to see those little guys, not just hiding in the houses, but living around it, brushing up the doorstep.
Yes, that's the living world, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So a pillar is the living world, and in that living world, having mass population. And then, when your people battle against my people, or my people are battling against another god and single player, it's a whole army. It's a population that we want. Now, we're talking to those guys about what that means. Can we fit hundreds on screen? I love the Total War series. That's what I want. That's what I feel like as a population. Anyway, we've now got a list of things which we want from Populous. Let's move on to Dungeon Keeper.
Well, also, I want that drama of the multiplayer still. I want to really, really capture that, because that was a great thing. It's about getting so close to winning and then just getting smashed with a tsunami or something.
Yeah. You never actually won a multiplayer, did you?
No. Ranked matches as well.
Well, you've got to remember that it's still in Populous there's a cheat. If I move the mouse to the top left-hand side of the screen, press a certain key combination, all my people would
do it again. Can you do it now?
I'm not going to show the world my cheat. It'd served me well over the years. Let's look at Dungeon Keeper.
Cool.
Right, here's Dungeon Keeper. There is not looking quite so dated. This, I'm still really proud of Dungeon Keeper. I really love the feeling of a living world again. All these imps and creatures run around. But the one thing I want to take from Dungeon Keeper absolutely is the digging. I loved that digging. I loved the feeling of exploration and seeing those imps digging out, even going into first person and digging for yourself. I really loved that, and we're gonna steal that for Godus. So if you remember, we're going to sculpt, push the land up, pull the land down. We're going to clean up by tapping, but you're also going to be digging into the landscape and revealing stuff. Yeah. And the stuff that I loved revealing in Dungeon Keeper were the resources, was the gold and the gems. So that is one thing we're definitely going to take. There was this hand as well. I liked doing this. I liked slapping my imps. You can see that was the inspiration for slapping a monkey in... slapping a monkey in black and white. So I really like this feeling of cruelty. Is that bad?
It's in all of us, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And so we're going to have digging, we're going to have sculpting, but we're also going to have a god power which is called the Finger of God. And what the Finger of God will do is allow you to do little things in the world, like tapping, pushing people and tapping people and being cruel to people and picking people up. I love that feeling and sensation.
It's all got to feel tactile.
Yeah. Anything else from Dungeon Keeper? What are the bad bits?
What are the bad bits?
The interface is terrible again. Thousands of icons around there. The screen was still pretty small by today's standards. So we want to have a kind of feeling of approaching an iconless game, as long as that doesn't get in the way of the gameplay. Should we have a look at black and white?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay, here we are in black and white. Now, the first real thing is that we managed to get rid of a lot of that clutter in the interface. So I'm definitely inspired by that. I'm also, it starts to look a little bit more like a real living world, which is aspirational. But I really want to take it that much further with Godus, you know, when we're talking about a living world, it's the little people having an intelligence in themselves, which they kind of had in black and white. So let's have a little look. Now, the first thing is the interface of the hand moving around. It was good, but it was very fiddly. Do you not think?
Yeah, as every now and then I grab onto something I don't mean to grab onto.
Yes, you know, and we want to. Being fiddly is something I hate. I love this ability of being able to pick things up, and you can tap on rocks and break them in half and use them as weapons, but it is incredibly fiddly. One of the beautiful things which we definitely want to try and keep is this feeling of tactile nature of the world. So have a look at how that grass moves as you move your hand around. I know it's a little point, but for me it makes the world more tangible and more real. I also love the idea of being able to just kind of interact with your people a little bit. What about you, Jack? What are your favourite? What's the best bits and the worst bits?
For me, it's a sense of scale I want to capture. You know, I think Populous was very kind of locked off, and I really want to be, you know, up in the clouds one moment. I really want to feel like I'm seeing the damage, you know, very kind of magnified the next.
So, in summary, just a very quick rush through all the games. We're going to have the sculpting of the land from black and white. We're going to have the digging and the feeling of the little intelligence of the creatures from Dungeon Keeper, and we're going to have the tactile nature of the world from black and white, along with the beauty and the feel of being able to spread your godly influence around. That forms the basis of our mechanics in black and white. And tomorrow we're going to talk about single player and multiplayer and how we're going to use those mechanics, and we're also going to be starting to look at some of the very, very early prototypes that we're doing. And this is the key thing about Kickstarter, we're going to have to look at what people think of this video. If they don't agree with things, if it's sensible, that should incorporate it in its design.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no point doing a Kickstarter if we're not listening.
It's the whole
to
point.
The fans. Exactly.
It is the whole point. Great. Thank you very much.
Rock and roll.
Okay.